Hello there everyone, and welcome to another Thomas Wooden Railway custom engine overview video where I take a look at a couple of custom engines that I have done and you may have already seen in my series. And this actually is going to showcase a couple of customs that I have done that I haven't shown off, well, much rather not shown directly in a video. I mean, you have seen some of these characters already, and some of these custom models in prior videos. Like, I've recently done 4 episodes of my Thomas Wooden Railway Adventures series, which the first 4 episodes were recreations of episodes that the YouTube user Felix Chang had done back in 2006 and 2007. I have just finished remaking all 4 of those episodes that he made, since the original episodes are not up on YouTube anymore. So I figured that I could probably just create my own version to somewhat bring the stories back, even if they're not exactly the way they were when he uploaded them all those years ago. At least what I could do is just give some idea about the episodes. I mean, I'm pretty sure that older fans may have remembered the older versions of the episodes, while younger fans probably have never seen the newer episodes. Or at least, if they had, they probably did not have a YouTube account at the time, but they happen to have a YouTube account now, but, you know, there are, like, no episodes that he had done, at least not the ones that he did from 2006 and 2007. He is doing, or has been doing, some of those adaptations to the Railway series stories that were narrated by Ted Robbins. But anyway, I'm now going to show off this first of the customs that I have done. Well, actually, I think it is the first one that I've done. Well, the first I'm going to showcase. So this right here is Leo. He is a purple tank engine who came from America. And in the story entitled Leo the Purple Engine, he has a problem going up hills because his boiler bubbles. And yes, that pretty much is the same as a smooth ride, where he has the same problem that Sir Handel had. So, I bet some of you are wondering what model of train this custom is made from. This is made from an old-style wooden railway ben. I do remember, like, a couple years ago, I think I had this old ben that was, like, scratched up. Like, a lot of paint was missing. Although I think it may have actually been Bill, but you know, the name board was like all gone, so we just were not able to identify it. And what ended up happening is that I think that my parents sent back those, you know, scratched up or paint loss trains, you know, that, you know, had a lot of paint that was taken off. Just sent it back to, I think, the factory, and they sent back some replacements, and they sent back a replacement Ben, which has now become this custom-made Leo. So I used purple spray paint for this one, and just like with a lot of the customs that I've done, I've printed number 17 on his side and just used tape to get it on there, and then use the black Sharpie's marker to get the cab on the side. And the front of the boiler, which includes the face, and the smoke box, the funnel, and the headlamp, that's all made from Model Magic. So this is one of those characters where I make my own face instead of using a face from one of the existing models. Now, I know that some people probably have seen the Kuno the Tank Engine series, both Generation 1 and Generation 2. Generation 1 was the original version that Felix Shang brought out, and Generation 2 is my recreation of the series. And in that series, Leo's counterpart, whose name I'm not going to mention in this video, by the way, but that said character does appear in the 15th episode of the first generation and the 10th episode of the second generation. And what's strange is that Leo's counterpart in Kuno the Tankajin has a name board on his side, but Leo himself does not have it. So, in this case, I based Leo off of how he actually appeared in the New Engine Slideshow series, where he does not have a name board on his side, because he did not have that originally, so I didn't add one for him now. Now, I did bring in both Bill and Ben, my custom. Well, one is customized, like, both of them are actually Bill, but I made one be Ben by putting the name board on the side. But I already discussed about that in the video where I showcased these characters. And there's, you know, a little bit of a comparison between the two to be able to identify that this was originally a Wooden Railway Ben. Although you could have also used a Wooden Railway Bill because they look alike, but in this case, I used a Ben model. And you can see some bit of a difference since this is a much older Wooden Railway Ben model, and this one is a more updated version that came out in 2013. And, you know, I personally kind of prefer the 2013 versions of Bill and Ben over the older ones, despite the fact that they don't release Ben in his yellow livery officially. I had to customize in order to get one that had him in his yellow livery. So, now onto the next custom that I'm going to be looking over for this video. I'm going to be moving a couple of trains out of the way, and now I'm going to be bringing in, I'm actually going to take Leo out, and what I'm going to bring in are these two characters. This here is Nigel, and the other character here is Bruce. And these are two coaches that are part of the Soder and Mainland Railway. They are Mushi's personal coaches. Although I do remember how there was like some discussion about whose coaches Nigel and Bruce belong to. Although personally, from watching the New Engine Slideshow episode for the first time, they could like be pulled off as coaches belonging to any of the characters, but Felix Shang officially confirmed them to belong to Mushi, which I am going to stick to in the series. Though I just remember, like, there was a user by the name Farlak907, which some people may recognize as Rheneas from the Kuno the Tankajin series. He was one of those users that made those requests for Felix Shang's New Engine Slideshow series, like a lot of the earlier episodes. But he was long gone from YouTube by the time I came around, so I highly doubt that he even knows that I exist, but I know that he exists. I mean, unless he may have come back to YouTube and nobody just knows about it. But as far as I know, I have never interacted with that user, but I do know who he is and, you know, all that. But officially, these characters, these coaches, are Mushi's personal coaches. Although they were pulled by Toby in the episode, but, you know, that was just the one instance because Toby was picking them up, because Sir Topham Hatt told him to pick them up. So, I've mentioned this in the comment sections in a number of my different videos, you know, like when I announced I was making custom models of Nigel and Bruce, and people had asked what models I was going to be using, and I did say what I did use, but I'll go ahead and tell you what models I ended up using. These both are unpainted coaches, like what you would get in the Paint and Play depot. I actually got a 2-pack of 2 unpainted freight cars like one being a coach and one being a tanker, and I will also show off the tankers in a moment. So there was a listing on Amazon where you could get one coach and one tanker, and I needed to get 2 coaches, and you know, getting 2 sets of those was like the cheapest option, and oh dear, my battery is starting to run out. I was sure that I had recharged it. I'll try to get through this real quickly. So both of these are unpainted coaches, or they were when I got them. If you look underneath, well actually it's kind of hard considering the very light yellow color that I used, the paint color. So they are both unpainted coaches, similar to Annie and Clarabelle. And what I did was actually take some model magic to extend the roofs as well as the back area. Although, as far as the roofs are concerned, the roofs here are in a full cream color, but I looked at the images that Felix Chang did of these characters, and they originally had like a gray roof, but in a lot of my pictures that I've done showing off Nigel and Bruce, like one instance is that in the Kuno the Tankagen series, the names that are given to Nigel and Bruce are both rip-offs of my name. Yeah, both users that appeared as Nigel and Bruce in the Kuno the Tankagen series have names that are rip-offs of mine. Certainly an unfortunate time, but thankfully both users are gone now, so thank goodness. So anyway, after I had done the spray painting, I took a Sharpie's marker and wrote their names and the windows on the back, as well as their faces. And, you know, getting back to the whole color of the roofs thing, I pretty much decided, since I drew them with the full color, I just decided to go with that. It may not be accurate to what Felix Chang had done, but oh well. So, in this case, I gave Nigel kind of a worried-looking face, or a tired-out face, quite similar to Annie. And then with Bruce, I gave him a more calm-looking face, much like Clarabelle. And much like with Annie and Clarabelle, I did design Nigel and Bruce where one of them is able to go forwards and the other one goes backwards. Nigel is able to go forwards, so I had the face be added on to the front of the character, while Bruce has his face added to the back of the coach. So he's a character that goes backwards. I'll pretty much observe right here. So here are Bill and Ben. They are going to shunt to the back of Nigel and Bruce, both with their faces facing forwards. And yeah, you see there, Bill couples up to Nigel, but Ben just pushes Bruce back because Bruce's magnets are faced the other way, because I made him to face backwards when he is pulled down the line. So here we are now taking a look at the tankers that I got along with the coaches that I used to make Nigel and Bruce. And you know, I didn't have any initial plans for these guys. I just, just had them and I would figure out some use for these tankers. But I then came up with an interesting idea to have them become like like this is supposed to be a cream car, as you can see with the cream symbol on them. Something you'd see in some of the new series episodes, season 8 through 12. The much newer series that still used the models, which was, during the time where there was a major change in the series as far as the res for the camera and, the music compositions. And here's another one that's a raspberry car. This is used with a pink spray paint with a strawberry. Well, it's a strawberry car. I think that these are pretty much like the cars you'd see in the episode Too Hot for Thomas. Well, one of them anyway. I think at least the milk tanker was, but I'm not sure if the strawberry car was in any of those episodes. And now, you probably have seen this in the background in a number of videos, but now I'm actually going to show it off. This here is a little crane barge that I made based upon the crane barges that I've seen in some episodes of Season 2, such as Percy Takes a Plunge and The Diseasel, which is quite a very memorable episode in my family. Coughs and sneezels spread diseasels. So, this is made from the base and the cab of the Thomas & Friends Wood Bulstrode, which was a 2018 version, by the way. That wasn't fully painted. And, you know, if you've seen my custom Dexter video, you know that I used the face to make my Dexter. And this is, you know, the rest of Bulstrode, where I just spray painted the entire base in black. I did attempt to try to erase the name board on the end, but it was just not coming off, no matter how hard I tried. So just ended up spray painting the whole thing, and it actually looks pretty good. On the bottom, you can actually still see the name Bulstrode underneath. It's kind of very faded. In fact, it's probably a lot easier to see it in person than it is on camera, but, you know, it is right there. I do, yeah, you see? There it is. Bulstrode. Yeah, it's very hard to see, actually, if you're looking at it on camera. And the cab was spray painted in yellow, and the crane arm is the crane arm from my old wooden railway cranky. This is what I did with it after I finished making my custom Big Mickey, because I wanted to come up with some use for the crane arm, and of course the rope right here, as well as the magnet, is also from the old wooden railway cranky. I did put a tack on the end of this to kind of, you know, hold it down, you know, to make sure that it's not too long. I just added in the 70th anniversary cargo piece from that Sam and the Great Bell set that I reviewed a while back. So, yeah, you wanted me to look over this. Finally done it. Are you satisfied? I hope you are. So this is just going to be a little thing that is going to be shown in the background in some of my future episodes. I think I may add some windows on here because I have not added on windows. But for those of you who wanted to see this, finally I've looked over it. Hope you are satisfied. There is actually one more thing that I'm pretty sure some people have actually seen in my last two episodes, or at least in the Bad Day at Mount Fuji, and that is this sort of crane right here, which I have given the name Piker, or Piker. I suppose it's pronounced Piker because it's spelled P-I-K-E-R. I suppose P-I-K-E would just spell Pike, so I guess it would be Piker. I did used to pronounce it as Picker, but I suppose spelled like this, it is Piker. And there is actually a bit of a history behind this. Now, this sort of crane thing right here, which has two track sections underneath it, this is, I believe, a Brio brand or some wooden railway line that isn't related to Thomas the Tank Engine. It doesn't have the same track that Thomas the Tank Engine has. This just happened to be something that I managed to get. And, you know, the tracks are much closer together than what you would see on the Thomas Wooden Railway anytime they put track pieces together. So it would, you know, kind of be a bit, make it hard to compat it with Thomas Wooden Railway track in some cases. And I actually wrote this name on the side when I was a kid, and I did put a paper face over on the side. And, you know, I just recently added the face of Cranky right here. You know, just kind of a little add-on thing. I didn't really have any plans on having this be an actual character in my series, or maybe even have him be a character to appear in my New Engine Slideshow series, or even Kuno the Tank Engine Generation 2. The latter, I am not entirely sure that I will do, but maybe I will incorporate this character into my New Engine Slideshow series. Like maybe when I do episode 72, I may have this be a character in the series. Not quite sure if this is supposed to be based upon any real crane, or if this is just something you would see in wooden railway form. But regardless, that right there is just a little thing that I just decided to add a face onto that, since, you know, I had the Cranky face after making the custom Big Mickey model, and I still have another Cranky face, which was the face from the Thomas Wood Cranky. I haven't thought of anything to add that onto yet. When it comes to using faces from different characters in customizations, when it comes to big characters like Cranky, for example, you're kind of limited as to what you can use it for, because, you know, Cranky is a crane and he's much bigger than most of the other characters in the series, so it can be kind of hard to come up with some use of that face, because there aren't any big engines that are going to need to have a face that size, or any other thing. I mean, it's even too big for some rolling stock pieces as well. In fact, maybe taking up a lot more space on a boxcar, like that one that had Great Northern on it, which I think there was a name for that, but I can't remember what it was. But I think someone told me what sort of freight car it was based upon, so my apologies if I could not remember it this time. So that is my overview on a number of different custom models that I have made, and a couple of questions that people may have for me, such as if I'm going to be introducing any other new characters from Felix Shang's series. The answer to that is I'm not quite certain at this time. There are some people that may be asking if I am going to introduce Thule into my series. I'm not quite sure how I could introduce her in any way. And I also am not certain if I will do Puddin' and Huggin' in Wooden Railway form, or what sort of story I could have be introduced for them, because Joy and Nas already brought in a similar storyline to Donald and Douglas, so I kind of feel like doing the same thing over and over again, or using the same storyline over and over again, can begin to be a bit repetitive. I mean, they've only used the same story 2 times officially, and that would be the story about an engine who lost his whistle from blowing so hard, so he had to rely on someone else to do the whistles for him. Yeah, faulty whistles and Mike's whistle. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.